everybody. Welcome back again to a little Austin Sports Weekend with Austin, the man here himself.
Welcome to the College Showcase.
Welcome to the College Showcase. We're going to start off with a little football.
A sprinkle of football
and
get into some
and
college
then
basketball.
Get into some college basketball.
Remember
is in full swing.
Remember last week when we
Transition
were trying
stage.
to transition more? Now here's more of a transition.
Here's more of it. Before we get started, though, thanks again for SevereTV.com for setting us up here in studio. Thanks again for Autographs Plus for sponsoring us. Got a nice little ABA, Dr. J Ball here, Molten Golden, Shack Ball there. Be sure and check them out. Got some money. Got some Christmas money burning a hole in your pocket. Check them out. But let's go ahead and jump in and cover the two playoff games that we had in college this week. The first one, Thursday, January the 9th, we had Notre Dame, Penn State.
Big game, James.
Big James does it again. He is now 1-15
in top 5.
in top 5 matchups at Penn State. 1-18 in his career with top 5 matchups.
Not only do we agree that he's Big Game James, but
we've been calling him Big Game James on this program for years and years, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, something like that, whatever it is. And we finally on ESPN, Greeny
called him Big Game.
Him and Feinbaum were having a discussion. Feinbaum shredded him, said he never wins the big game, and Greenberg called him
Big Game James. On live television.
On live television, they used our phrase of Big Game James. So thank you for the Big Game James. So, yeah, he made a couple bad calls coach-wise there at the end.
And he threw a pass over where he shouldn't have. That got picked off, and Notre Dame ran the clock off. And Marcus Freeman's team is off to be 1 game away.
Again, I can understand, man, aggressive at that point. You want to try to win the game before you go to overtime. But don't put your quarterback in a situation that he's been bad in that situation the entire game. Their quarterback didn't have a good game passing. How many receptions did wide receivers have? Oh, none? Before that? I mean, why would you try to throw over the middle?
It was right in an Irish defensive back's hands. I mean, it was just
that was a good catch. That was a good pick. That was a good. I mean, it took some athleticism. That was a good catch, good pick. But still, don't throw the ball.
Yep.
Don't put your quarterback in that situation to throw that. So
what an interesting run the Irish have been on. They've defeated Indiana, Georgia, and Penn State to get to this point.
Yeah.
And I'd say the Georgia win was the most impressive.
Georgia was had a quarterback that was his first start of his career.
And they were injured. They had injuries too.
They had injuries, so Georgia had the most talent that they beat, but the quarterback situation. But you got to give them credit. They're 14-1.
And that's one of the best seasons in Irish history.
It is the best season in Irish history.
Record-wise.
Yeah, record-wise.
And we're talking about like 100 seasons or more. They've been playing football for a while.
I thought it was funny. Somebody said the other day that Notre Dame used to be the team that everybody hated. Everybody was, it was sort of like the Patriots or somebody. Oh, I'm tired of hearing about the Notre Dame. Tired of hearing about that. They've sort of turned into the Cinderella this year. For everybody's sort of rooting for them a little bit. So it's funny how that turned that way. But their opponent's going to be the winner of the Ohio State-Texas game.
And it was pretty close until the last portion of the fourth quarter. Let's go ahead and get into this one.
Well, let's go ahead and jump into that one. All right, yeah. Ohio State pulled it out 28-14. It was actually a closer game than that.
Texas's bonehead play calling at the goal line cost them.
Badly. Why would you do that? Why? You've got a running quarterback, a rookie running quarterback that you've been bringing in, and he's been running goal line the whole year and scoring every single time.
And you do a pitch?
You do a veer pitch and lose 7 or 8 yards.
And then you put Quinn Ewers in a 4th and goal, got to get it situation, drop back. Ohio State's pass rush has been good throughout the entire playoff. Mm-hmm. And they hit him, and they get a free fumble return touchdown.
It's zip from being tied to being down 14, one bad play call. I mean, that's all I can say. It's a game of inches. It's a game of calls too. That one bad play call cost Texas the game basically. It was a 14-point swing in one series. It was just terrible, man.
Technically, this is another double-digit win for the Buckeyes
Yeah.
in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And Ryan Day's got his crew humming, it seems.
It is, yeah.
And they seem to be the favorite coming up in the
yeah.
national championship.
Well, they're definitely the favorite coming up. We can go ahead and look at the national championship game coming up. We've got we got Notre Dame and Ohio State coming up. If I can get my thing to go, here we go. Ohio State's favored by 8.
They've won each of their games in the last 3 games
by double
digits. So
I would probably take Ohio State minus the 8 because they have clicked at the right time.
I think that's a consensus. Ohio State wins their 9th national championship if they get this one.
I think so, yeah. And honestly, they've got a $21 million roster.
And they kind of needed to have this happen.
If they didn't have this to happen,
They would be considered.
it would have probably been the demolition of the Ohio State program as we know it right now. It would have fell apart if they hadn't have done what they're doing. And again, there's still some Ohio State fans are going to go, well, but we still didn't beat Michigan.
You're going to win a championship. Does that matter?
I don't know, yeah.
It matters too much.
It matters.
to them.
It matters too much to them. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with Ohio State.
I do
And,
have family on my side that happened to go to Ohio State or is friends with someone that happened to be a Buckeye or all
Yeah.
that. So that would be good for them to have that kind of experience.
Yeah, just a couple quick college football notes while we're in this. Carson Beck did leave Georgia,
To go to Miami.
and he's making $4 million in nil money, which is more money than C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, and Daniels in the NFL. That's how crazy nil money has gotten right now. Carson
NCAA doesn't want to fix it, I guess.
Carson Beck, who is an okay quarterback, he's not Joe Montana. He's okay.
Miami paid.
Is making more money than 2 of the quarterbacks in the divisional round playoffs this year.
I think I gave you one note why he went to Miami, though.
Oh, his girlfriend's an athlete there.
She went to Miami, and she
Yeah.
is an athlete at Miami. Mm-hmm. And Mario
$4 million
Cristobal-
softens the blow a little bit too.
Jeez.
But he literally
Georgia's
is
gonna
making
find
more money
Georgia's
than
going to have to look for a quarterback.
Yeah.
Probably in the portal or for recruiting, which Kirby does pretty well enough.
Yeah, I'm not worried too much about them getting their player back in. Just a little Tennessee football news. Yeah, the city of Knoxville got a pedestrian bridge that's supposed to go in across the river there, I do believe. And then right behind that, Danny White, who is the AD of Tennessee, said so excited about that with the new Neyland Stadium renovation, the Neyland Entertainment District. So that Neyland Entertainment District looks like it's still probably going to go forward because Danny White said he mentioned it in his future cast. So we might be getting a hotel, condo, entertainment district, bridge across the river there at Neyland Stadium. After
Sooner or
the
later, you
2026
realize
season.
everyone else is going to probably try this.
Yeah.
So you're going to see Ohio State and Texas have their own little hotel, condo. Mm-hmm. Hopefully not in the Arctic.
Tennessee does have, I mean, I'm a Tennessee fan, obviously. I love Tennessee. But that's a beautiful little area to do what they're doing. The only negative part is they're going to have to probably tear down the most popular parking garage in Knox County to do it. The G10 parking garage will have to go to do that entertainment district thing there.
And we'll have to walk longer to get into the stadium.
Hopefully they'll have another parking garage program here coming from that whenever they do it. But all right, let's go ahead and jump into some college
Hoops.
hoops.
Are you ready for some more hoops? Because I am.
Yeah. All right, we'll go ahead and jump through the top 10 real quick.
Number 1 is Auburn.
Number 1 is Auburn this week.
Bruce Pearl's got quite the team.
They got 60 of the 62 votes going into this week. So it was pretty, impact. Oh, they are number one, and they are playing really, really good right now. They are 15-1,
despite not having their best player.
We need to talk about that because Broom did go out with a severe ankle, non-surgery required,
Sprained ankle.
but still a bad sprained ankle was going to keep him out a couple weeks or so probably. So, but
Auburn, if they played like they did against Mississippi State, they'd be fine.
I think they might be fine. Yeah, although they should have lost last weekend, some missed foul shots by their opponent, South Carolina.
That drives me. Do you know
South Carolina would have beat Auburn if they would have made their free throws in the last minute of the game.
Do you know the one thing that irritates me and my sister the most in basketball games?
Make your free throws.
Make the foul shots. They're there for a reason.
They're free points. Just stand there and shoot. I don't know, but yeah. And speaking of that, Iowa State is number 2, and their opponent did the exact same thing in the exact same night. Missed free throws in the last minute and lost when they could have won.
Oh gosh, that really does hurt.
But Iowa State is number 2.
They
Duke
did beat up on Kansas.
they destroyed Kansas. Kansas may not be as good this year as they have been in the past. Duke, speaking of good though, Duke. What's that boy's name? What's his name?
Oh, Flagg.
Cooper. My goodness gracious.
He got 42 points.
42 points as a
He's shot 11.
freshman.
He had 11 of 14 shooting.
It's not too. That's a pretty good percentage. If you're gonna,
It should be above 50.
they did say, well, he had 16 foul shots. Well, he made 15 of the 16 foul shots too, and on top of that, he had 26 points. So 26 points and 16 free throws. Not too bad a night for a freshman.
And that's a freshman record.
I think that we might have our number 1 pick in the draft already, unless something crazy goes on there.
Now, Alabama we'll discuss because they just suffered a loss to a ranked Ole Miss.
Alabama just lost at home, which was a little worse at home. Still, though, it's a quad 1 loss, so it's not going to kill them. But Ole Miss came in and beat Alabama. It was ranked 4th going into this week. They will drop because of that loss to Ole Miss. But it wasn't a bad loss again. It was a ranked team. It was a quad 1 loss.
That's back to how many
At
times
home
are
hurts
you
a little more.
How many of those are you going to get in the SEC this year?
When there's 16 teams in the SEC and 12 of them are probably going to make the tournament, you're going to take an L. You're not going to get through that gauntlet without an L or 3, to be honest, or 4, to be honest. And speaking of that, Florida
just
started out the week number 5.
They had lost to a scrappy Missouri team. They're not ranked, but they're 14-3.
And that is Missouri's second top 5 win. So they will be ranked.
Yeah, that's...
You got 2 top 5 wins. I think next week they might be in the rankings.
They should be.
So, yeah, so that'll be like 13 of the 25 teams will be SEC ranked teams next week.
Let's break the SEC trend with number 7, Marquette.
Yeah, well, we'll go to Tennessee is number 6. We'll go ahead and cover Tennessee while we're here.
Almost skipped them.
Yeah. Tennessee did. The reason they dropped from 1 to 6 because they took a butt whooping at Florida last week.
And then they bounced back against Texas and then Georgia.
But then they bounced back, went to Texas, and beat a good Texas team who is predicted to make the tourney. And then they got home against a ranked Georgia team and beat them by 18. So
this is a Georgia team that was come off of 2 straight ranked wins.
Yeah, so it was a good Georgia team. The only thing that's concerning about Tennessee is Chaz is in a 3-game slump right now. The Florida game, he fell off, and then the Texas game, he's not shot really good. And then I think he only went 2 for last night. But the good thing about Tennessee is Chaz has had an off night for 3 games, and they've won 2 out of those 3. And the last one they handled pretty easy. Shout out to Zakai Ziegler for being now the number 1
steal leader
in the history of Tennessee basketball. How about them apples? He had 6 steals. Zakai in the second half of that Georgia game took it over. Took them on their back, made 3 straight 3-pointers, stole the ball,
on an
inbound pass, threw it back to Tennessee. In the first half, scored 25 points. In the second half, scored 40. Was it
49 or 47?
49 points. They ended up with 74. So in the first half, they struggled offensively. In the second half, they found it. The good thing is their defense was consistent. In the first half, they gave up 26 points defensively. In the second half, against a top 25 team, they gave up 30 points defensively. So their defense was consistent without their offense being there. That's the sign of a good team when you don't fall apart without one or the other. So yay for Tennessee. That was actually a very good win against Georgia.
Now let's get to Marquette.
Now Marquette is number 7.
This is a team you really hear about during basketball time.
Yeah, they are a 14-2 team though. They were 7 last week. They started out this week at 7.
And Shaka's got his guys playing well again.
Shaka, I do like Shaka Smart. You know, he wasn't a fit at Texas, but he is a fit
in Marquette.
So
had a win just this week too, so they're on the right track.
Mm-hmm. Kentucky came into the week. They were 6 last week, dropped down to 8 this week,
and now they have just come off a big win against a ranked Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm. They beat a good ranked Texas A&M team. So yeah, Kentucky is. Yeah, we forget how young they are. You know, they lost to Georgia at Georgia, but then they went into a Mississippi State and beat a top 15 Mississippi State, and then they
came back home and beat.
So they had 2 straight top 15 wins after losing that.
And this Saturday they got a whopper.
They got a whopper of a game this Saturday. We have Alabama at Kentucky.
That's probably the SEC game.
I guarantee that's got to be the SEC game of the week. It's a top 10 matchup. As far as the strength index, it's 52-48. So it couldn't be more toss up. Kentucky's got the advantage because they're at home. That's what gives them the 52-48. But yeah, that's going to be a crazy game, and that game right there will go a lot, I think, towards the end of the year in the seeding for the tourney. Will be games like that. Who's a number 2 seed? Who's a number 3 seed? Is the winners and losers of games like this right here.
Now let's get to Kansas.
Number 9, we got Kansas. They'll probably drop out of the top 10 this week
because Iowa State gave them their rear ends.
They wedgied them. They wedgied them pretty bad. When you lose one that bad, just like Tennessee lost with 30 points, they dropped 5. Kansas is probably going to drop 2 or 3 because they got wedged pretty good.
And then the last, but not let's.
I just read they lost by 17 to Iowa State, which is. Not could do good. And we round out the top 10
with
Houston jumping up 2 spots.
Yep, and Kelvin Sampson's Cougars. They've been very consistent over the past several years.
I was questioning how good Houston would be this year because they lost so many good players. But wham bam, there they are, top 10.
And once again, Houston is one of the best teams in terms of defensive efficiency. They have always been amongst the top 10 or top 5 in each of Kelvin Sampson's years in defensive efficiency.
And they have not lost a game in January yet, so they're probably going to stay up there in that top 10 rank. The only shocking thing again for me, and here talking about the top 10 is the ACC. It didn't dawn on me until this week that Duke will probably not lose another game. One of the main reasons are they're good.
And the other
reason is the ACC is terrible.
Outside of
right now this week, the ACC has how many ranked teams?
1.
Duke. That's it. Duke's the only ranked team in the entire conference.
And there's only like a couple of other teams.
Louisville.
Remember we beat that team earlier? They've been pretty hot lately.
Louisville has a good chance to crack the top 25 this week, and so does Clemson.
Those are the only other 2 that I see right now.
That's it. The ACC is
really down. Probably as down as they've ever been.
Maybe the worst conference.
The worst power.
They are the worst Power 4 conference in basketball.
They're rated worse than the Mountain West, and they're rated worse than the American right now.
So they're not even Power 6 worthy. Well, I mean, which is shocking. Think about it. You got Miami, which is normally pretty good. You got Florida State's normally pretty good. Virginia, they've won a title here recently. You got North Carolina. You got Duke, and it goes on and on.
And all you got's Duke.
And all you got's Duke. You got Louisville. I mean, you got Duke ranked right now. So that's it for the college Basketball, let me see if we got any notes we need to get on the college basketball. Again, congrats to Zakai for being the all-time leader in steals. Okay, I did want to go through this. This is the chance of receiving an at-large bid for the SEC teams. The 16 SEC teams. Auburn right now is a 100% chance of making the tourney. Tennessee's 99.9%.
They're pretty much the same.
Alabama's 99.9%. Florida's 99.9%. Kentucky's 99.7%. Mississippi State's 99.6%. A&M's 99.4%. We finally drop out of the 99%ers here. Ole Miss is 98.2%. Georgia's 94.4%. Missouri is 88.1%. That's probably going to go up after another top 5 win. Texas is 75%. Oklahoma is 72.5%.
How many teams did we mention?
That is 12 teams that are 72% and higher to make the tourney.
And let's go over this next team. I think Vanderbilt also is a little lower.
Vandy has a chance. Vandy has a 28.9% chance.
But they haven't
to
lost
make
a
the
conference
tourney.
game yet.
They haven't made
They beat Missouri.
Yeah. So if Missouri gets ranked this year, that means Vandy's win over the ranked quad one would be better. So I think I think Vandy has a chance to be the 13th out of 16th team to make
Which
the
is
tourney.
ridiculous. This is a ridiculously good year for our conference, Dad.
Yeah, you know who isn't predicted to make it?
Oh, John Calipari.
Calipari.
Oh, you and your friends were
we
yakking
need
it up.
we need to put a mention there. Calipari took now this is what that team at Arkansas would have been the same team at Kentucky. All of those players that went down there were going to Kentucky. Plus he got in some transfers. So he took Kentucky's team, put a Razorback jersey on them, and has not won an SEC game yet.
That's embarrassing.
He's 0 for 5 now.
And then Kentucky comes in there, hires Mark Pope, and brings in a bunch of transfers, and now they're a top 8 team. Who's the winner of the beef?
I think Kentucky might have won that beef there.
It's crazy when you get a coach. I might be taking one little shot too many here.
No.
But, it's crazy when you get a coach that knows how to coach X's and O's.
It's funny whenever you get into the game and they actually coach the game
Instead of just relying on talent.
to show up and win. There's so I thought that was really
LSU and South Carolina are also long shots.
They are long shots, but they do have a chance. I mean, they could get on a hot streak here at the end and do it pretty easily, you know. So I think that might be it for the week. We haven't done a dumpster fire in a week.
In several weeks, but this one is the most notable we've had in a long time. It's the most dumbfounding, befuddling, brain-twisting thing that I've ever heard of.
We did have to,
and it's from the women's basketball side.
We did have to mention this just
because of how historic it is.
Of how historically bad this was. The SMU women's team, which is not a bad team. They were what,
10-6 coming in, and they played Pitt women's team. The Pitt women's team.
Yeah. They were 10-6, so not a bad team coming in to
just tell the score about this.
And Pitt was 8-9, so SMU came in with a better record.
Just tell them what the score was.
SMU went out the first quarter leading 32-7 over Pitt. The second quarter they outscored them 17-11. So at halftime, the SMU women's team was up 49-18. So they were up 31 points.
That is a lot of points. They
lost by 13.
Now that is what got my brain in a twist. How is that possible?
SMU in the third quarter, 0 points.
Do you want me to rephrase? How is that possible?
0 points in an entire quarter.
Is that even possible?
And they gave up 28. So they got outscored by 28 points in one quarter.
That is impossible. How do you do that? How do you have that happen? That's inexcusable.
I don't know. But
I've seen-
SMU was still up 3 points after getting outscored 28-0 going into the fourth quarter. But in the fourth quarter, they only scored 10 points and gave up 26.
What the heck was the coaching staff doing?
They scored 49 points in the first half and 10 in the second
Were
half.
they just laying in the weeds? Nothing, no problem.
I have never seen a collapse that big before.
Have
so
you? I've never
we
seen
had to
something
mention
like
it
that before.
because SMU, the women's team's not a bad team.
But they just
It's not like they're a 1-14 team who just are terrible. They were a 10-6 team playing an 8-9 team.
They just peed down their own leg there.
I don't know, but that was
absolutely
that's
ridiculous.
one of the biggest collapses I've ever heard in my entire life.
That's a meltdown. You want to say
That was
collapse?
28-3.
You say collapse?
That was 28-3.
That was a nuclear meltdown.
Yeah.
That's not a collapse. That's a nuclear meltdown.
Yeah. The only thing that I can think of, and I hate this in sports, I'm a little bit different than probably what 75% of the people are. But I believe in a game, if you're up 48-18 at half, then you should win 98-36. You do not let up. It's not your job to stop scoring. It's the other team's job to stop you. And I think maybe at halftime, the coaches put up their feet and thought they had the game won. They were up 31 points at halftime.
That should be a cause for them to get a notice from the AD. I mean, that is just ridiculous.
I believe you never let up. You make the other team stop you. I don't care what the score is. I don't care whose feelings you hurt. I don't care nothing of that. You keep scoring till the other team stops you. Now, I can understand under the last minute and a half of the game, if you want to put in some subs and but you should be up 98 to 30 when you do that. You hammer until it's time, and that's the only thing that I can think is maybe they went in there and had some cheesecake at halftime and some Diet Coke and
That is
thought the game was over.
that is an embarrassment.
That was bad.
I don't want to be harsh, but
No.
that is literally.
I've just never seen anything that bad before, so I just had to mention it. It shocked me that it was
Gosh.
that bad.
I feel bad for them.
Yep. But we have got some great basketball games coming up this week, though. So we want to definitely want to look forward to those. Tennessee here in the next couple of weeks is plays
14-3 Vanderbilt.
They play a 14-3 Vanderbilt, which is not even ranked, and then they got 3 straight top 15 teams, 2 of them top 10. So we got some fantastic games coming. I really do love this Tennessee team, though. I think all the way around, just on a positive note.
So do you think
this Tennessee team is fantastic? I think overall this team is better this year than Tennessee's team last year, and this Tennessee team last year was an Elite 8 team. I think this might be Tennessee's first Final Four team. If they can stay healthy.
If they could stay
If
healthy
they can stay
and if
healthy.
they can shoot well
And if Chaz can come back around
and shoot.
and start, scoring 15 to 20 points a game again, because Gainey is vastly improved this year. Ziegler is improved this year. As good as he is, he's still improved this year. Meshack has improved this year. Plus, we've got the Milichase, the Popkas,
The only thing that'll hurt us down the line is probably depth.
Depth.
We only have 9 scholarships on our roster right
But
now.
they're playing so good. So, anyways, that is college sports for this week. Unless you got a little something else you want to throw in there.
I've got nothing much else. After that game you told me about, I have got nothing that could top
No,
that.
I know the preseason baseball, I think, has Tennessee ranked top 5 and has the women's softball ranked top 10, I think, starting out the way too early ranking season for baseball and softball. So I think Tennessee still has like the 3rd best odds to win the title again this year. It's so hard to win back-to-back. But Tennessee's in a really good spot there too. But I think that's about all I've got for college sports this week. So thanks again for checking us out. There's a bunch of good games coming up this week. The national championship game is next Monday, so that will be fun. But thanks again for SevereTV.com for setting us up here in studio. Thanks again for Autographs Plus for sponsoring us. Be sure and check them out. Other than that, we will see you
Next week.